I've had a lot of questions about using a capture card. So I've got a camera, but you can apply this to anything. You can apply this to console gaming or any other source. I'm using an internal Elgato HD card, and I'll put a link in the description after the fact. I believe it's the 60 Pro, HD 60 Pro, because the 60S I think is the USB one. I'll double check that, so don't make any comments that I was wrong yet. So this is running an HDMI cable. In fact, my camera is a mini HDMI, so I had to get a mini HDMI to standard HDMI cable, running that into the back of my Elgato card in my desktop. So that's going into the in port. From there, I'm letting the computer do like most of the rest of the work through the graphics card. I have the software loaded up already, but you will need to install the game capture software, even if you're not going to use it. 9 times out of 10, I don't use it because I'm running it all through OBS. So you install the software. Be careful because it also installs the Elgato audio software that sometimes will load when your computer loads, so you might need to turn that off. Otherwise, it'll do funny things to your sound. Anyway, so when you're running a capture card, import, you can run it out as well. So you can display it on something. I technically am running it out to one of my monitors that's HDMI enabled, because when I play console games at my desk, I can basically use the Elgato as a throughput. There's another thing that you can run as well. So when I am, if I turn off game capture for a second, and I switch over, and if I switch everything over, I'm going to show you my paint screen real quick. But just switching this over for you real quick. All right, so if we transition it over, right? This is just the HDMI source pumped through and kind of utilized similar how you use a webcam. It's just a video source. And once you have the game capture software installed, not running, close it once you install it. You can now use your Elgato capture card as a video source. So you can see my very messy hobby space, very messy. And I'm just using the camera in real time. The one catch will be if any of the Elgato software is open and it's using the camera, you won't get this. So you can use it for a webcam. Another thing that you can do is also with the game source. Your game device could also be the game capture for your Elgato, and whatever console is pumping in there, whatever console is going to be pumping in there, you can actually use to run. Now the catch will be if I switch back over to game, blank screen, that's fine. There is game capture available. If I turn that back on, we'll see. So you can capture, you can do like a window capture, and you can capture the game software, which will load up now. And this is all very just intro level. I'm not going into extreme detail just yet. So we've got the game capture here, right? It says another device is in use. That's because I have the webcam already up and running. see, if I switch back over here, I'll go ahead and turn this off. Yep. And you typically want to restart your software. So this is where it gets finicky. Of course, I'm not going to be planning on using a console and a webcam and a DSLR the entire time. But essentially, you can run the software, and in this window here, you will actually get what is being used. I have my Nintendo Switch console, so I could power up the Switch and pump it through here. One of the things that I do want to show you, though, when you're doing game capture, there is an audio output mode. Okay, and let me just go ahead and give you a screen cap or a display. All right, we'll go a little crazy. I know that this is going to look a little buggy for a second, but when you go into your game mode, you've got your game capture, right? I do like to use the deactivate when not showing because it makes sure that I don't run into the device being used by another application issue. But if you're going to be playing a console game, your output desktop, you want to actually make sure that you're outputting, right? Because if you're just capturing audio only, you won't be able to hear the game. Your viewers will. It'll pump through. But what I like to do, if I'm streaming a game from a console, I load up the Capture HD. You can stream from that, right? You're capturing through here in OBS, but at the same time, I can see it and I can hear it. If not, the other option is to output from an HDMI source out of the capture card, right? Use the HDMI out, pump it into an HDMI input source, and then you listen to the audio on there. What I've done is use a third monitor. I've played the game on that third monitor while I use the other two monitors to stream. So your options are, I have streamed from OBS. I've used the Elgato capture card on OBS with audio output mode turned on to output desktop audio. So I hear exactly what you as the viewer hears. I have been told that there is sometimes a delay and it could throw you off in your game. So if you're playing things like Smash Brothers where timing is key, it might throw you off a little bit. However, I have not noticed it too much. I guess I've gotten lucky with my setup. The other option would be, like I said, use an external monitor with HDMI out and listen to the audio through there. You could mess with the Game Capture HD instead, and essentially, instead of using OBS as that capture source, you can do a window capture of Game Capture HD. So if we hide the display capture and you do this screen cap instead, when you go to play the game, as you're playing the game, this window becomes full. So several options. You can oversimplify it. You don't want to overthink it too much. I have heard that the USB devices can also be used fairly well, but with me, being old school with computers, it used to be for me a direct connected device that's internal to your motherboard will perform better than a USB connected device if they're exactly the same. However, with the advances in USB technology, the newer computers and all that, that's not as much of a problem, so it could balance itself out and be negligible. The older devices still do have issues. So it works for the camera, it works for consoles, and it works for any other HDMI sources that are legitimate and allowed to be used for streaming TOS. That does not mean you can go grab a DVD or Blu-ray player and pump it through the computer and stream whatever movies on there. Not saying you can do that. In theory, your Elgato can do it, can capture it with the right HDMI security settings. But like for example, just to go down this rabbit hole, the HDMI settings on the PS4 needs to be adjusted. Because there is the copyright laws. So you have to change the setting in your PS4 to allow this connection to work. And you're not breaking any rules, but you just have to go make that change. So that's it. That's using a capture card at its most basic level. And hope this was a big help. So yeah, leave any comments or let me know if you have any other questions, and we'll be glad to produce more content for you.
Da ba dee